What culture?
Today we're going to be taking a look at 10 video games that we'll probably be pretty ashamed to tell our kids about. So first up, the Dead or Alive series. Say we give it another 10 years, what's the series going to be remembered for? Will it be the incredibly easy to get used to, hard to master fighting system? The exquisitely well animated characters? No, of course not. It'll be because each female character has bosoms so out of control they threaten to put someone's eye out. In Modern Warfare 2, it was fairly clear what developer Infinity Ward were trying to do in putting you in control of an undercover operative who was forced to become part of a terrorist attack. Nobody was looking to Call of Duty to deliver anything remotely philosophical or thoughtful. The main idea behind the level was to question how easily you would pull the trigger on thousands of innocent civilians, under the in-game guise of maintaining your cover. By presenting the content in this way, it comes across as more of a how much of this can you stomach, rather than anything more meaningful. In concept, Lollipop Chainsaw is just one big, dumb explosion of brightly coloured fun. Inspired by the ridiculously over-the-top nature of titles like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, Grasshopper's most well-known release was hopefully made with the best of intentions. Featuring protagonist Juliet, she appears in a host of skimpy outfits throughout, and although she's carrying with her the severed head of her boyfriend, who will talk to you and occasionally help out, it still doesn't stop it from coming across as anything more than a teenage boy's wet dream. From an overly cutesy portrayal of a female in games, to the most annoyingly outdated, misogynistic meathead there's ever been. The objectification of women in games has been a continual talking point ever since Princess Peach was the damsel in distress reward for a successful romp through a series of castles. But here, Duke took it to another level. When he made a return in 2011 and was still trying to get across the whole guns and babes thing, it was enough to make you cringe to death. One of the most talked about inclusions was a mode called Capture the Babe. You know, like a spin on the more traditional Capture the Flag, because to Duke and his developers, both flags and women are objects.
Hello, this isn't my base. If it were my base, it'd be third base.
Charm can go a very, very long way. If The Room is the Citizen Kane of bad films, then Deadly Premonition is the Final Fantasy VII of bad games. There's just so much individuality present throughout the cast of characters you'll come across. However, it's all a bit balmy, and if you're one of those people who's ever tried to get across to someone else exactly what makes it so brilliant, there's quite the amount of confusing stares and perplexed looks that'll come back in return. Grand Theft Auto is a strange beast when you really think about it. In the future, we're surely going to look back on titles like GTA and analyse exactly why the biggest selling entertainment property of all time was a game where you progress by killing, bludgeoning and destroying everything around you. There's always an overarching purpose to the carnage and mission structure, but as any who have tried to convey to a loved one or friend who doesn't play games exactly what the appeal of the series will know, it's pretty hard to put into words without sounding like a total maniac. Although she's a candidate for one of the most badass females going, Bayonetta is another character rather like Duke Nukem who's been designed to appeal to a very specific demographic, again being horny teenage boys. Granted, if you slap on a pair of breasts on anything you'll get the vast majority of the male population's attention, but with Bayonetta it's all about getting across an aura of self-empowerment as a total power fantasy. If an over-muscled bald guy tearing demons in half with his bare hands is one half of a male fantasy coin, then the other is surely a beautiful woman with a host of spells and twin pistols doing exactly the same. It doesn't make it any easier to describe to newcomers though. From sexy damsels who cause distress to a game that strips away all character and instead puts you behind the wheel of a huge muscle car, tasking you with killing as many pedestrians as possible. Carmageddon's one of those old school games that would never get the go-ahead in today's society, being one of those creations where the developers must surely have sat around a table and gone, right, what's the worst thing we can make? Mortal Kombat is a series that's carved its own place in the minds of many gamers with a serrated machete, sitting comfortably at the top of the fighting game pile while all its brethren slowly die off. How did it get to be so high though? Through a once gimmick-turned series signature inclusion of bucketloads of gore at every turn, that's how. However, it was with Mortal Kombat 9 that the series seems to be nearing a tipping point when it comes to depictions of gore. Some of the series' signature fatalities are rendered in such an impressive graphics engine that it's actually caused champions of the medium, such as Guardian writer Charlie Brooker, to remark that regardless of how much you'll stand up for games and expression, he found it to be utterly disgusting. Often referred to as one of the most controversial games of all time, Rockstar Games' Manhunt is one that, although it spawned a sequel, will forever be held in infamy by the mainstream press as a murder simulator, as the only way to score high in the game is to eviscerate your opponents with any and everything you can get your hands on. From plastic bags to scythes to knives, police batons and machetes, the premise of the game was that you are trapped in a half-stage world where filmmaker Lionel Starkweather is making a snuff film. It's all supremely dark material, and one of the most disturbing mass-marketed titles ever created. As gaming continues to evolve and explore new territories, titles like Manhunt prove it can run the gamut from incredibly cutesy platformers all the way down to classics like Manhunt and Mortal Kombat. So, which oversexed or incredibly violent or otherwise offensive titles are you never going to tell your children about? Feel free to let us know in the comments. Don't forget to check out the website, and please remember to subscribe.